Well, that was very, very interesting. I found out more about that South Lake killings tonight than I knew, so that was great, Judge. Wonderful. And by the way, you're here, and as your Tarrant County Sheriff, I am going to make my first endorsement of the 2020 elections, and it's those cheeseburgers. That was incredible. Aren't they good? Those folks back there? Those guys did a great job. Well, Georgia called me this week and said, would you come and talk to us a little bit about immigrations and maybe a couple of other things about what's going on in the party? And I said, you know what, I'd love to. I'd be honored to be with you guys this evening. So here I am. And I'll tell you that just a few short years ago, I stood here and I told you what I was going to be doing once I got into office. And one of those things was to stand up an intelligence team, and two is have the 287G program that authorizes jailers in Tarrant County Jail to put immigration detention on illegal aliens.
Yeah.
I'll stay in my box. And we've done both of those. We've stood up an intel team, and we've stood up a 287 program where we have people around the clock that can check immigration status of people that come into our jail. Note, if they come into our jail. So they are arrested out here by another city or one of our deputies, and they are brought to the jail, and and part of the booking process is to figure out where they're from to see if they have legal status here. And then we detain them. Now, to tell you this is that it created a whole new fan club for me. And I don't know why they're not here tonight. They may be waiting for me, but there's people who strongly disagree with this, and they've interrupted speaking engagements and everything else. But with that said, we've stuck to our guns and we've continued to do that. But I always want to tell you about what we have down there as far as immigration. Now, when we talk about the immigration, you've heard what happened in South Lake up there. The border often seems to be Burleson, Texas. You know, and what I mean by that is I-35 is one of the busiest highways in America today. And we know that stuff comes up here, and we are a hub for distributing drugs and narcotics all over the country. And the reason that we know that is because we've done intel, and we have done our work, and we have worked with Homeland Security and DEA and all those other guys. But let me just tell you that in the last 3 months, Tarrant County deputies have stopped, arrested people in one situation with 110 pounds of methamphetamine, 25 pounds of heroin on another occasion, and just last week we got over $1 million worth of dope. All of the cartel families are here. So that's why the immigration policy is important. They are right here operating. Now, I always remind these folks that stand against me and say, hey, you shouldn't be separating families. But let me share with you the people I'm separating with families. And by the way, everybody assumes that they're all Mexicans. That's not true. That's not true. They're from all over the world. But I forgot my glasses tonight, so bear with me. Is that we have, right now, for instance, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 260 people detained in the Tarrant County Jail that are illegal aliens. That's about 6%. We have 4,000 total. That's 6% of our total criminal population is illegal aliens. And why are they there? Well, 11 are there for homicide. 68 for sexual assault of children. We have them there. We have several for trafficking, because we have a human trafficking unit now. We have several for human trafficking. We have them for as little as vandalism, but we have them for DWI. We have them for arson. We have them for burglary. We have them for kidnapping. We have them for injury, serious injury to a child. And if I didn't say, 11 murderers are there, and one of those is from Venezuela. And he cuts people's heads off, so you can imagine what kind of gang and what kind of training and what kind of background that he has. But that's a flavor of the 260 people that we have in our custody that came across that border illegally and came to Tarrant County, Texas, and committed a criminal violation of some sort, and some of them very heinous. And we have locked them up, and they're sitting there with a detainer. Now, what happens is when we detain somebody, there's still an administrative review and an administrative warrant for that person that is issued by ICE, by the immigration people. And that person in jail can still make bond. They make bond, then we call ICE, and they come and get it within 12 or 13 hours. So we're not a holding facility and giving away stuff to the feds. The feds come and get them within just generally about 7 to 12 hours. And then they go to a federal facility somewhere, and then they have, sometimes they can make bond there. Sometimes they are issued documents that say appear in court, and then they're off and gone. Our immigration courts are way backed up. But sometimes they get deported. Now, that's kind of how it works, but here's the deal. If it is a person who is there, we are a compassionate country, and these are the laws that have been around for years. If we arrest somebody, they're detained, and then they get to immigration, and immigration says, okay, we're going to deport you, and they said, okay, but I have a wife and 2 kids, okay, and my 2 children are American citizens. That's okay too, because we will, if you want, we'll send the whole family back to where you come from. The whole family. And we're paying for that. But so we're not separating people at that angle, or separating families at that angle. We're accused of separating them when we put a detainer on them. But guys, we have 4,000 people in Tarrant County Jail separated from their families. Right. And let me tell you, there's a lot of families that are tickled to death that they're separated. Because we hear from them too. But on the intel side of that, just real quickly, on the intel, we work with intelligence agencies all over the country. And I'm real proud of our intel unit, and that guy's been here and talked to you before, and he is just great. His name is David Grantham. And he's been incredible. He set up the system and has done real well. And I just want to tell you, I'll give you one thing that he did. He's had over 100 pieces of raw intelligence that has become actionable, that arrests have been made not only in Tarrant County but across the country. And one of them was one morning about 9 o'clock, they got a tip, they got a piece of information that there was an active shooter about to be activated in America, but they didn't know where. They didn't know who. And that team went to work that day, and at 3 o'clock they kept their nose down, they knew where to dig, and they dug hard. At 3 o'clock that afternoon, there were 2, ready for this, New York PD officers on the steps of the shooter. And that shooting was prevented. But it happened in New York. And I told him, I said, that is fantastic. Is New York part of the United States still? but anyway, we're international now, though, it was good stuff. But this immigration issue that is happening down there right now, I want to say this, and this is that the Border Patrol would like to see a wall. My fellow sheriffs down there on both sides of the fence, and when I say both sides of the aisle, would like to see a wall. The ranchers down there are reporting that they'd like to see a wall because they're fearful, because they find dead bodies out there. Can you imagine a coyote bringing a woman across that's pregnant? They stop and they go into labor. How inhumane it is. That coyote's after money, they'd leave them. And then the rancher finds them later. These things are happening all the time on our border. But the other side said, experts tell us that a wall won't work. I keep on asking, who are those experts? Y'all wonder that? Who are these experts? But anyway, the wall, I think, would at least funnel people and help. Another technology needs to be there, and we need to work on a comprehensive immigration program. We need to do all those things. But as far as immigration here in Tarrant County, you come to the county jail, we'll find out who you are, and we'll put a detainer on you if you're illegally in the country. Number one. Number two is by the way, when we talk about sanctuary cities, and I've talked to the people on the other side, I said, you realize in San Francisco and San Diego and Los Angeles that what ICE does there, because you're a sanctuary city, without notice to you, without talking to you, they make raids in your neighborhood. ICE comes in and they go after bad MS-13 right there, and they arrest him, but they also check the documentation of those people around him. So grandpa and grandma, aunt, uncle, brother, sister. So instead of just getting that guy, they get all these other people, and they get detained too. And when I tell them, I said, I'm not sure what to think about this, but ICE is doing raids in Tarrant County because they only come to Tarrant County jail. So I said, what is that, a liberal policy by ICE, or what's the deal? But we only deal with ICE at the county jail, and they don't go out into the neighborhood. You seen ICE out in any neighborhoods? Not going to, because they come to the Tarrant County Jail. And we're doing a pretty good business for them. Like I said, we've got nearly 260 people. But that's kind of what's going on in immigration. But if I can segue away for just a few minutes, and y'all heard from Darrell tonight, as he said it about voter registration and all of this, is the Democrats are coming in 2020. They've got an agenda, and they're coming hard, and they're picking out people. And last week, we had a very controversial issue going on. We had a very controversial issue going on. And if we're truly a rule of law place, if we're truly embracing the Constitution, then the vote happened, it's done, it's over. And what I would like to say tonight is that we be stewards of what we got. But if we're going to win in 2020, we've got to come together. You know, Reagan said if we agree 80% of the time, we're good to go. We're part of the party. And if you want to vet somebody and they're constitutionalists, they believe the Constitution as it's written, not according to Beto, that maybe it doesn't work anymore. We think it works. We believe in the rule of law. And we believe in liberty and smaller government. Should we not let them in the tent? Should we not say, hey, help us? Because socialism is rushing toward us. Socialism is rushing toward us. And if we're going to do that, we're going to have to be united. And you know, as far as litmus test, I'll give you two from my world. Is one, I unashamedly am an evangelical Christian, but I respect everybody of all faiths. I have friends of all faiths. They come into that. And the second greatest commandment in my world is love thy neighbor like you love yourself. And you know the interesting thing about that scripture? I looked. There's no litmus test to who's your neighbor. There's no litmus test. And the second thing is you know, when David in Psalms was writing, in Psalms 27, he wrote a beautiful passage there. He says, and I'll quote, listen, I'll mess it up, it's theological, so if it's theologian, you don't have to yell scream or hang David was talking, he says, you know, if I look, I can find the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. I can find goodness if we look for it. We can find badness. You know, if you hang around Bill Waybourn just for a few minutes, you're going to say, I don't like that about you. But if we seek out the goodness in our neighbors, and we include them, and we unify this group, we can't be beat. But if you look at the Democrats, they're out doing voter registration, they're out doing block walks. Look at their Democratic calendar right here in Tarrant County. That's a piece of intel. They are coming. Now, we just had an election, and we got slapped around a little bit from a conservative standpoint. But fortunately, we still won a lot of our countywide, but that doesn't mean that they're not coming. We still got Sharon Wilson, who's in the house tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But we've got to work together and be stewards of this. And we've got to be the hands and feet outside these walls. We've got to talk to our neighbors. We've got to understand. We've got to help people and show them what we're about with kindness and respectfulness so that they may enter with us to fight this fight. It is our moment to rise to the nobility and stewardship in which we've been given in this country and defend the principles in which people believe so much for our children, for our community, for Texas, and for America. We have the opportunity, the table's set. So let's quit throwing our rocks at each other and let's gather together and run at those Democrats before they know what's coming at them. God bless you.